Hey everybody, welcome to Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. My name is Reed with Best Made Videos. We are a wedding videography company based out of West Seattle, Washington, and I'm excited today, finally, to be joined by Shiloh Abbott of the Bubbly Soire. We've been, talking about this for a while. We connected down in Vegas for the wedding MBA, which I want to talk about as well. But it's a spooky podcast today. We're recording on Halloween, so thanks for making the time to come in. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hello, I am Shiloh. I have the Bubbly Soire planning, mainly coordination, starting out company, and I live in Maple Valley, but am willing to kind of go anywhere this takes me.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you, like I said, so much for coming in on Halloween. It's a busy time. We're still kind of winding down wedding season. First off, kind of what are you guys doing for Halloween? I was kind of curious, just what are the plans the rest of the day?
My daughter's in school today, and then when she gets home, we will, I guess, have some dinner and go out trick-or-treating in our neighborhood. So yeah, we went to a trunk or treat last night, which was kind of crazy. I had never been to one, but it was fun.
What is that?
It's basically like a parking lot in a church where everyone has their car trunks open and decorated. So there was a lot of like Candyland, Alice in Wonderland, and then the kids just go around and get more candy. So they will be nice and loaded up with candy at the end of today. Yeah,
Thursday is better than the Wednesday it was last year, which is next year. I guess it'll be a weekend or something, so it'll be good. So we connected down in Vegas at the MBA. What was that experience like for you, and what were kind of some big takeaways? And had you gone before? What was kind of your motivation for going down there?
So this was my second year going. I went last year, and it was awesome. I go down there kind of with the mentality of building relationships with other vendors and then also learning a lot for my own business and things. So it was a really good combination of both. I went to an extra seminar on top of actual MBA for Aisle Planner, which is a program that a lot of planners use. And that was amazing, just because I got to learn so much more about what to do with it and what other people have used. So it was good. It was really fun.
Yeah, and so we had just had the kind of the gals on the other. So this will be 2 episodes since then. But the MBA is kind of like business learning for weddings, but really kind of trying to figure out the business side of it. We always talk on the podcast about just people that are creatives and then trying to run a business. How does that balance go for you? Do you enjoy kind of handling both aspects of that?
I do.
You don't have to. You can say.
I do to a point. I like knowing everything that's going on, and so that's good. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard finding that balance, especially with having kids and everything. That's been the biggest challenge of it. I think is just trying to find the balance of everything. But I love working with people and finding solutions to problems. I think that's one of my big things that I enjoy doing.
So, what is it about weddings that really gets you excited? That you obviously building the company, going down to Vegas to learn more, what is it about that and events that really gets you excited?
I love watching people be excited and be happy and be completely surrounded by love and friendship and family and everything. I think that that's the best part, is just seeing the actual couple thoroughly enjoying themselves on the day of, and just like partying. And I mean, you're surrounded by everyone who loves you and they're all there for you. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's a thing lately. It seems like this summer it's been hard. I think there's a lot of pressure on people, families, or society. I don't know. A lot of our couples lately have seemed very stressed day of and very tired and very like trying to get through things. And have you noticed that? Or obviously with the weddings that you're at, I'm sure a lot of that stress is relieved, right? That they don't, but like, I don't get you at every wedding that we have to do so, but it does seem like it's a lot of stressful times for people.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my hope is that I can alleviate that, and so that people actually can go and show up, and so that brides can hang out with their friends and family on the morning of, and just sit around, drink champagne, and get their hair and makeup done, and then just show up and everything's taken care of. So that's my entire goal, is for them to be able to just thoroughly enjoy it. So
So how did you kind of get, set up with all this? So is this something, we talk like girls, planning from a young age and throwing events, or how did you get, set up to kind of do all this? What was the origin story?
It's kind of convoluted and different, but it's always been there. Growing up, my mom always threw like massive birthday parties for us. So that was just a fun thing that I grew up with. And then when I was a senior in high school, I actually helped mainly plan our senior breakfast for like 400 people. So that was kind of a big intro. And then I actually put that aside for a while and focused on science. So I went into the medical arena after college and during college. And so I went into physical therapy, and then I changed gears and wanted to be a physician assistant. So I actually worked at the Polyclinic downtown for almost 10 years and pursued PA school, got on the wait list, and then I got married and was about to turn 30. And it was like, well, here we go, changing gears. And if I'm going to have kids, this is when I'm going to do it. So stayed at home with them for a while and did some friends and family's weddings, and was like, okay, this is it. Like, I just need to do this and make this an actual business. So there you go.
What was it about the physical therapy and the science and kind of that side of things that excited you?
I like that things are different. It's, again, helping people and being there to support people and make their lives better is essentially what it is. So.
And then when it came to planning your own wedding, what was that process like?
It was fun. It was fun, actually. I enjoyed it. My husband's actually been married before, so he came with a lot of insight into it, which really helped. We did everything ourselves, including we got married up on Arcus Island and then actually brought up a lot of things with us just because we wanted to have control over it. And then I realized that I wish I had someone like myself on that day, because I showed up to the reception and the caterer had put up cheesecakes like 3 hours early and water bottles everywhere. And I was like, this is not what I wanted. And so, yeah. Learned my lesson on that one.
Where'd you guys get married up there?
We had our ceremony up at Rosario, and then our reception was at the Oddfellows Hall up there, which was actually really cool.
Yeah, we just did a wedding up at Rosario this summer. I'd never been up there, but it's like, it's a process to get up there, but it was quite, totally quite the world though. It was, probably the best wedding we had all summer was up there. So
cool.
But you guys had a good experience. I mean, you felt like you learned a lot of, I guess that's a good way that, you kind of go through and like you figure out like what worked and what didn't. And then do you feel like having gone through that now you can really relate to your couples that you're working with?
Definitely. Yeah.
There's
a lot of things that it's like what to do and what not to do and where to spend your time and energy and where not to. Because time is something that you can't get back. And so I think that that's a big thing that I'm trying to help my clients with is it worth your time to save a little bit of money on that? And if so, then great. And if not, then let's look at other options.
It's so hard, talking with couples, and it is one of those things where no one, most people haven't been married before. They've done it. Like it's something that people don't have a lot of expertise in, but they think that they know a lot about how things, like what things should cost or how things should go. And
right.
Do you find that too? And especially like with planning, where and I always say like it's just such a thankless job where there's no tangibleness to come from it except like obviously the feelings of like stress freeness or like. But do you find that you're educating people like that about like how things really are versus like what their expectations are?
Yeah, I think that it's a lot of putting things into perspective for people and like, okay, you want to do your own bouquets, which is awesome, but think about all of the other things that you're doing in the couple of days leading up to your wedding or even on your wedding day. Is that what you want to be doing? And is that what you want your family and friends to be doing with you? Or do you want to just be hanging out with them, enjoying your time? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think about this like that last week before, and even now, like when I'm talking with couples now, trying to like finalize stuff, and before when I hadn't gone through it, and I'm like, well, why aren't they like emailing back right now? Like, what's going on? And then like when you go through it, and then you're like, well, I'm not even going to bug them like the last, because it is like when your family's coming in and you're doing rehearsals, and we had like another get together and trying to plan all that, and then it's crazy how like the time just kind of sucks away right at the end there.
Right, most definitely.
So, what kinds of couples do you find that you enjoy working with and that are attracted to you in the way that you do business?
I think that it's couples who generally have an idea of what they want and are happy planning certain aspects on their own, but just need help putting everything together. So whether it's, just how is this all going to flow on the day of, what am I missing? A lot of people are asking, when they reach out, they say, well, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And so we kind of go through everything a lot on the walkthrough at their venue way ahead of time, and just in conversations talking about timelines and the other vendors, and just putting all the pieces together to make sure everything is totally covered and that I know everything that they know.
Yeah, it's hard because even, someone like I had done weddings, and, when we got married, and like I'm even like forgetting stuff, right? Because you're just looking at kind of a bigger picture, I think, than most people are. But even it was something like we needed a table for something, and I was like, I never would have even thought about that, right? And like I do this all the time, right. But it's having that. So what do you feel like are some strengths that you have that relate well to obviously doing what you do?
I feel like I am strong under pressure. And I think that can be a really good thing to have on a wedding day. That's something that, in working in medicine and doctors' offices and stuff, have kind of helped me hone in on that strength a lot. And I'm also organized and super detailed about things. So,
yeah, talk about kind of some of the lessons you learned from, coming from that totally different world, into this now. I mean, it's two separate things, but obviously there's a lot of like lessons and, traits that can carry over. So what were some strengths you feel like you brought over?
I think compassion is one, and just knowing that, the last office that I worked in, that we all worked together with the same team for a while, we had patients from literally every aspect of Seattle. We had like the wealthiest clients, and then we had people who I was trying to find housing for. And so it shows you that there's a broad range of people and personalities and backgrounds and lifestyles to work with, and how to do that. And then also that people have off days, and you have to be understanding and realize that everybody's human.
It's tough. It's odd. Just the world that we're in, and where it is like the kind of this personal thing. And, it's a lot of like meeting people late at night, or doing walkthroughs when schedules allow. We had booked like a last minute wedding, like at the end of September, and like the groom's like texting me like at 10 o'clock at night, like we're trying to figure this out. Like, is this going to be a thing? And he's like, I'm so sorry. Like and I'm like, yeah, it's just a different kind of thing than like, you're texting your plumber or something, you know what I mean? Like, do you find that it is, and I do think, being the planner, it is probably the most connected, next to like the photographer, just in terms of like the connection and the relationships you build. So talk about that, and just the personal connection, like being in the wedding industry, that you have with clients.
Yeah, I love it. I love getting to know my clients. I think it's awesome. I think it helps to get to know their personalities, so that you can kind of almost act on their behalf on the actual wedding day, and like, no, they don't want this, and this is not their style, and no, this would be okay, and that kind of thing. I love the interpersonal relationships. I think it's like the best part of it, just getting to know people.
No, it's tough because, you do really have to. You're like a conduit for them, where you really have to. Like we had the thing this summer, and it was there was something with the audio, and they had a fountain, and I was talking with the venue owner, and I was like, hey, like, like, do you guys ever turn that off, or like, is that something? And she's like, well, I don't know, like, you're going to have to talk to them. And like, but like, I could talk to the planner. And she's like, well, I can make that decision. And like, that is very important to them. And so we're going to do that, to make it work. And I'm like, perfect. Like, cause the last thing you want is I just had Ashley on the podcast. She's another wedding planner from down in Southern Washington. And we were just talking about like how it just seems to me lately, like so much is like day of like talking to the bride and groom about like, what should we do? Or what do you think? Or what do you think? And like not having the planner to be like answering those questions.
Yeah.
Do you find that like, I mean, obviously you're there, so you don't see that, but I see just a lot of like asking the bride, like we had a bride getting her dress on and they were trying to figure out like, well, how are we going to get from here to the, and I'm like, that is not like a question that we should be asking, the bride right now. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've had an interesting summer and season with that because this year I actually was working as the venue coordinator down in Seabrook a lot. And so I got to see it from another perspective where a lot of people didn't have a planner or anyone to just run the day of stuff. And it can be a little chaotic sometimes, and I found myself stepping in a lot like, okay, how can I help? Let's figure this out. Let's do this, which most venue people just don't. A lot of places they're just kind of, they're around, but they don't do all that stuff. So, yeah, it's, but also in one that I was working on my own, I had the DJ was having some sound issues and actually went up to the couple and, ahead of me. And I was like, oh no, you come to me first. Let's figure this out. And they just looked at me like, what? I'm like, we got it. Back up. But it's fine. So yeah, it can be interesting, I guess.
No, it's great. It's just been a lot of that this summer. And we had one and like the DJ was a friend and they didn't have a planner. And it was like a lot of like, powwow with the photographer and them like, okay, well, let's go ask him like, what do you think now? What do you think? And I'm like, I would love anybody else to be like making these decisions. Right. Even like for me, like, I don't want to be making these, because we're trying to figure out like, do you think we should go do? I'm like, I would love anybody to be like, no, I got this. Like, we're going to do, cause it just felt like all day. It was like, okay, now what do you think about this? Now, what do you think about this? And like, it is okay to have a timeline and to just... Right.
You just want someone to be the final decision maker. Like, no, this is what we're doing. We're moving forward. This is how it is.
Yeah. I was like, I'm so tired of like trying to... I don't want to make decisions. It's not even my life.
Video.
And we had talked, like you said, about, people doing the, bouquets and stuff. Like, do you find that like... there are things that people are spending like a lot of time worrying about or money or energy on that maybe they shouldn't, or things that they're not worrying about that maybe they should, or, where you're trying to kind of set those expectations?
Yeah. I think that people, it's hard because people want to have the best wedding that they can. And I think that it's easy to get wrapped up in all of the little, I don't want to say tchotchkes, but there's a lot of like wedding signs and things like that you can get. And sometimes it just becomes overwhelming and there's just not enough space for all that stuff. So I think that can be one thing. Sometimes favors, just depending on what it is. I like to focus more on like the actual like guests and their experiences and just make sure that everybody's taken care of. Like, do you have like ample restrooms and, are those nice? And just little things that would make people go, oh, this was such a good party. Or I wish that they would have thought of this and that kind of thing. So
I will say the thing this year with the venues only having enough chairs to either have seating at the ceremony or seating at the reception, and the whole like, okay, so can the last 10 rows grab your chairs? Multiple times this year, and like major venues. And I'm like, you guys do 70 whatever a year, like, and you can't just buy another set of chairs. Like, but a lot this year, like guests carrying these chairs like up the hill to the reception.
Right.
And I'm like, I would absolutely not do that if I was a guest at a wedding. And I'm not a guest at very many weddings anymore. And like the last one of our friends got married in Italy, and it was like crazy, like taking care of people. And I was like, well, this is how, you should, and not that everyone has the money to do that, but just feeling taken care of. Yes. And not that I'm having to like, the bride and groom shouldn't have to work on their wedding day. No. And like neither should a lot of the guests or any of the guests, so. Yeah.
There's definitely, I've had situations with that, and it's, that's where I try to like build in like a cocktail hour so that we can handle the chairs and people can just go and enjoy. And if they want to designate a couple of people to help out, cool. But otherwise we'll take care of it. And that's what we're there for. But yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from.
What is the process like kind of working with you? If I'm like a bride or groom or someone that wants to get married, what does that process look like?
Kind of depends on what you're looking for. A lot of people hire me for what I call wedding management, which is the big term going around is day of coordination, but that's just kind of a farce. It's I need a lot more than a day to pull your wedding off. So
no, I just see people all the time. I just need somebody to 6 hours stay out. Yeah. I see posts all the time. Oh, yeah. I just need someone. Need someone from 10 to 8 to take care of it.
I know, like twitching. That's not possible. So so that being said, so I reach out. People reach out over a year in advance sometimes. Sometimes it's a couple months if there's availability at that point. And then I'm just kind of there for any questions and emails, and I leave my emails totally open and texts to them. And then if they need help with securing any kind of rentals or vendor referrals or whatever, I'm just kind of always there. And then I want to make sure that their ceremony time is at a good point in time of the day for them to get everything else done, but not have their guests sweltering in the sun. And so that's where it helps to just kind of work with people way ahead of time so that they can get their invitations set and everything else at that point.
It's hard with the ceremonies lately and no concept of lighting or temperature or anything. And I know that like venues have restrictions. Yeah. Like we got married at Salty's and like we couldn't even set up till like 4:30. So, the ceremony I think was like at 6:15 because that was like, so I get it, but like we've had so many this year where it's like 1:00, bright sun, I don't know. And it's hard, you want it to be nice, but yeah, it's been a lot of sweaty guests lately.
Right. Or people are waiting like for hours for food or something like that. And then people are just like, okay, what are we doing next? Like the flow's different.
I'm editing I think the ceremony clocked in at 2 hours and 45-minute Nigerian ceremony right now. And that's
impressive.
It was a lot. It was a lot. And then, that and dinner and stuff. I mean, it was a long night. I mean, dinner was like at 9:30, wow. But you need to and I think at that point, it's almost like you got to set expectations for like guests and stuff because people are like, what's going on here?
Right. Like a big board with an actual timeline kind of thing, a general one. Yeah.
Like a diagram going.
Right.
So what do you, Seattle and kind of the community here and networking, and what do you like about kind of the community here? Do you find and obviously, like you said, you helped out at Seabrook and stuff, going to the MBA and meeting with people. Talk about kind of just like networking and kind of the greater community here we have of vendors.
I think starting to network has been huge for me. I think it's helped with my confidence. It's helped just get to know people and just having those relationships where you can, everyone's in the same boat together and you're all working together. So why not have a nice relationship and get to know people on a personal level rather than just on the actual wedding day where you're like, hey, bye. Hi, bye. Yeah. Okay. Good food. Yeah. See you later. Okay. Bye. That kind of thing. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, it's and even just the podcast and stuff. Yeah, because we're it's like work, and you're sitting there and you're talking and stuff. But it's more just kind of like small talk or how's it going. But it's not really building these relationships like you would with we don't have a lot of coworkers or
exactly. You're on your own. That's it.
There was that thing floating around that it was if you see a small business owner talking to themselves, they're just having a staff meeting or whatever.
Yeah, so true.
And I was like, no, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
Where does the name The Bubbly Soiree come from?
Oh, it took me so long to come up with that name. It took me 6 months.
It's a good one. I like it.
Thank you. I learned French in high school, and it's been kind of a big part of me growing up and stuff, and big into that. And then, I don't know, why not throw some bubbly with it? So who doesn't like some sort of bubbly? It's always fun. So there you go.
Have you guys had the opportunity to go to France?
Yeah. My husband and I actually went a year and a half ago. We went to Paris and just tootled around for about 10 days. It was amazing. It was so much fun. Just to hang out and not have it an agenda. Let's go check out this museum. Okay. Let's have a snack. Okay. It was great.
We had I studied abroad in Italy, and there was like this whole thing on the way home, and we were flying through Charles de Gaulle, and they were doing construction, or they're always doing construction, but we missed the flight, so we had to spend the night, and so it ended up being me.
Spend the night.
Well, but I mean,
just kidding.
I'm, at that point I was 20, like I wasn't like a big world traveler, but luckily I was in, on the flight was the sister of a guy that I had gone to high school with. And so we were just kind of like, so it ended up being like enough that we could like hang out for the day. Cause I'm like, what am I going to do? Anyway, so we go to the hotel, and I had studied French in high school. I'm terrible at language, and I just have no, I can't like roll the R's with Spanish. I can't do anything. But we went to the bar, and I was like, oh, I'm so excited. Like I'm going to, order like a vodka soda or a gin and tonic or whatever. And the guy's like, he's like, I don't even know what you're saying. And I was like, I had heard, that like the French are sticklers for just pronouncing everything correctly, right? And so I was like, this guy was like totally no-sold it. And I was like, oh, I just looked like a fool in front of this girl, sister of a buddy I knew. But no, it's fine.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, they were really very nice. I mean, I would try to say something, and I had a waiter like full on stop and turn around and be like, actually, this is what you say. And I was like, thanks. But they were very nice.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What was it like kind of just going through and starting the business? Just kind of like having, worked for a long time and I mean, was this like a new concept of like entrepreneurship? And I know you said off mic, like, your husband, you guys like rehab homes and he's a spectrum, but like being like, I'm starting a wedding planning company, right? Is not something you do every day.
Right.
What was that process like?
Well, after I did a couple family and friends weddings, just kind of on the side, one of them in particular was like, you really need to do this, and you're good at it, and you're organized, so just do it, and we'll support you in any way that we can. I was like, all right, okay, that's the vote of confidence that I needed, was someone from the outside, saying this. And it was just like, okay, my kids are old enough. I stayed at home with them for a while, and I feel like this is something that I could do kind of slowly and build it up. And then it's just kind of taken off. It's been awesome. And so, that's where a little bit of the balancing act has been interesting, but it's great. I mean, my husband and I are both essentially entrepreneurs at this point. We're self-employed, and we're just making it happen. And it's cool because we get to be at home with the kids when we want and need to, and then we still get to work and do whatever we want on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a big motivation, right, to be able to have that work-life balance with your family.
Right.
Which is hard. I mean, it's as an entrepreneur, it's really hard. How do you kind of balance that? It's
a work in progress. Summers are interesting. I mean, this summer was really busy just because we would try to fit in. I mean, that's the other benefit of my husband not working during the week, is that we can go and take trips during the week and then come back for the weekend, and I can still work weddings and do all that stuff. So we went to Leavenworth during the week, and my dad has a place in Montana that we went to go and stay at for a little bit. And so it's just nice being able to throw in that intense family time in between. So.
What was, so you said you had done a couple weddings, before starting. What was it like? What was your first couple of weddings like after you had, kind of become official? Was it nerve-wracking when it was actually like, but talk about that where, it's one thing to do it and like, or like, if I'm filming, but like when it's like an actual thing, what was it like kind of being like, oh, this is for real? Yeah,
it was intense. It was scary, and definite nerves going into the first day, and just like, okay, you have to take control, and this is what you're doing, and you are there for these people, and this is their big day. And so you make it happen. You're jumping in feet first. So it was great. It was great. It all worked out well, and they were very thankful and appreciative. And
you still talk with all them?
Yeah. Yes. They wrote lovely reviews. It was wonderful.
But I mean, you're kind of like me where, I mean, you just came from a different world, right? Yeah. I mean, there's some people that like, oh, I worked with someone and I decided to do my, like I was, totally different world. Yeah. And so what was it like just kind of coming into this, later, not late in life, but just later than, like out of college.
Totally. I mean, it's different because like in meeting people around, they're like, oh, I've been doing this for like 10 years and all this stuff, or, almost 20 years. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't have that kind of. So that's part of the reason why when I started my business, I wanted to start off with mainly the like actual coordination type stuff. And I knew that I couldn't do full planning because I didn't have the background and experience to do it. And so I feel like I'm starting to get to the point of where I can work in full planning as it may come or may not. And so I'm just trying to learn the ropes and make sure that I have everything down and I'm good at certain parts before I try to add any more, because it's just, I don't want to jump in and fail on someone's wedding. That's not good.
Yeah. Talk about that. Talk about just slowly building as you go and kind of making sure all the steps are there. Because I do think like nowadays, like with the, not necessarily planning, but like, I'm going to be a photographer.
Right.
I'm going to be, they just start like, so talk about like really making sure that you have all your ducks in a row kind of moving along.
Well, I think that a big part of it is, and that's where the networking is huge, is getting to know other vendors and figuring out that every vendor comes with their own strengths. I mean, you're not hiring one person to handle everything. So let them shine and let them do what they need to do and give them the tools and the ability to do what they need to do to make everything work. And so that's been a big thing for me, is just learning how to work as a team and how to put together a good team and what kind of personalities I like and work well with me and therefore my clients and such. And just, I think getting confidence, and the more experience you have, the more well-equipped you are to take on more.
Yeah, it's hard. It's like we were talking at the wedding where we were doing like a lot of kind of planning day of or figuring out day of. And it is like, you get to a point where you're like, God, I just want to like work, like do what I want to do and not, like you said, like everyone has these strengths and like stuff. And like, yeah, I have gotten to a point where like you don't get frustrated, but you're like, well, I just want to like this is not my job. I mean, I'm happy to do whatever, but this isn't.
It makes your life so much easier to have someone run around and handle all of those things.
How do you kind of sell that to the clients, right? And like I said, planning, it's so hard. I think it's the hardest thing to sell, because, and just because like people get married every day and I guess it's a success if the wedding happened, but like it could be much more of a success or much less of a success. So how do you really like sell that to the clients if someone's interested?
I kind of put it as like, I'm the one running around. I'm the point person. So I try to give a little scenario about like, say cake cutting. I'm making sure that the couple is ready. I make sure that their immediate family is there, because I don't want them to miss out on anything. Wedding party is there. And then I make sure that the photographer, the videographer, and the key people who need to capture that moment are all set. And then I make sure that the DJ doesn't make an announcement before all of that happens. And then when it is all ready, then the DJ announces it. But I'm the one running around making sure that all of the key parts and people are there, present, ready for it.
Yeah, it's well, and even just like, and then they're standing up there and like there's no plate or there's no knife,
right, exactly.
Or they don't know how to do it, or you're like, we were at the now closed Monte Cristo was like a month ago, and they had like 2 cake tables or something, but like all the stuff was on the other side, and I'm like running across the stage to like get them, because they have people there were like of zero help, and I'm like trying to get up the stuff. I'm like, this is, and then they're standing there like, oh,
yeah, what do we do?
But no, it's so many. They're looking like, we don't know how to do this, and like that's you're up there like, okay, now this is what you're going to do, and then you get out of the way, and then it's like, But people, I think, photo and video. I think people like we assume like everyone knows how to cut a cake, and it's like definitely not, right?
Oh, you look at this big cake, you're like, how do I attack this? Like, okay, yep.
What are your favorite parts of the wedding day that you enjoy the most? Is it, father-daughter day? I don't know. What do you enjoy most about wedding day?
I like setting up. I like making sure that everything looks good. I'm I kind of go by napkins and plates and I'm like, oh no, that has to be straight. That doesn't look good. But also I really like the moment when they walk down the aisle and they just kind of that excitement between a couple at the front of the ceremony and just like, oh, we're doing this, that kind of thing. The looks between them is really cool. Yeah. And just watching them enjoy themselves, like whether it's during dancing or anything like that. It's just really fun to watch everyone have a good time.
Yeah, that's ultimately it's like so much other stuff goes into the day and all this planning. Like you just want people to have a good time.
Exactly.
But it does seem like I said earlier, like this day and age, it just seems like increasingly harder and harder for people like just to have a good time at the wedding.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just me this summer with not. But I'm like, I just want like we had a lot of weddings this summer that were like really planned out far in advance. Like for us, like we're more like a year out, a year less. And like we had like a lot that were like a year more. And so you're like, you just know that there's a lot of like time devoted to this. Right. And do you have trouble like with nerves and people and like too much stress, or how do you kind of mediate that and kind of make sure that people kind of take it one step at a time?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of try to like, oh, you don't have to worry about that now. We'll figure that out. One thing at a time. Let's work on this aspect and then we'll move forward to the next one. Like just try to little bite-sized chunks, as they say, little bits and pieces here and there, and then you eventually get the full picture.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how people. It's something that I just don't know how people even think they can tackle it.
It's a lot
without some sort of guiding hand or someone that's done it before. It's just such a it's interesting. But when Ray Van Winkle was he was on the podcast like a year and a half ago now, but he was talking about because he's officiant, he's done like I don't know 1,300 weddings, whatever he's done, crazy amount. But he's talking about how because I said, well, what's, weddings and like people and, it's like this big deal now. And is it passe or whatever? And he's like, he thinks it's so important that two people just have to meld all that and like plan something together. And it could be a wedding, it could be anything, but just, you're trying to balance your families and money and religion or politics, all this stuff, but you're trying to meld this together. I just thought it was such an interesting way to phrase it. And I mean, it could be anything, but we end up it's a wedding and we do all these other, we film it and do all these other things, but just the idea of building that together I thought was like such an interesting way to phrase it.
Yeah. And there's so many emotions, so many different kinds of personalities, and there's so much behind the scenes just with the couple and their families and everything, and the dynamics of sometimes there's a lot of stress that comes from it with having two sides come together, or even parts of one side come together. I mean, it's stressful. It's hard.
You have quite the extensive fun facts about you list on your website. I wanted to know if you wanted to touch on any of those before I let you go today. Do you remember what's on there?
No. It's been a while.
So your husband and two kids. So we talked about that. Your bachelor's degree in natural science. We talked about that. Favorite drinks, almond lattes and a good Manhattan with lots of cherries.
Yes. The cherries are the best part. I always get disappointed when they just give me one. I'm like, oh, I forgot to ask for more.
Well, and the coffee too, because you had offered today to bring coffee. And then I was reading this. I was like, oh, that makes sense if you're a big coffee drinker.
Yeah. Why not?
You love to dance and you love your dance class.
Yes.
Do you still do that?
Heck yeah. I'm actually, it's been a slow go because I started at the beginning of the summer, but I'm slowly working towards becoming an instructor for Rhythmic, which is cool.
So what is, I don't know what Rhythmic is.
So Rhythmic is, it was actually started by a couple of gals down in the Maple Valley area, and it's called All American like Fitness. So it's basically any kind of genre of American music. So there's, like 20s and country and disco and, modern hip hop and stuff. And then they throw it all together in a dance class essentially. So you're just doing these fun routines to fun songs. So
you want to be an instructor?
Yeah, not a full-time. My husband thinks I'm crazy to add more, but I mean, just to have the ability to like sub in if need be and that kind of thing. So, then you get to know the dances ahead of time. I
think that's good. I think it's good to have, that's like Dorothy does this like spin stuff. And I'm like, you could just go in and like not full time, but go in and be a sub.
Yeah, I mean, the gym is like 5 minutes down the road from me. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Why not? Let's just add more.
And then the last thing here is Disney Park. A good day in a Disney Park is always a good idea.
Yes.
Are you guys big Disney heads?
I am. My husband goes along for the ride. When I went to school in California. And so when I lived in LA, one of the years that I was in college, one of my other friends and I got annual passes. And so like there was, I think it was like a Thursdays or something. I had like a chem lab in the morning and then we'd just go and book it to Disneyland for the afternoon. It was amazing. It was so much fun. But yeah, I mean, it's the happiest place on earth. Why not?
Do you guys still take your family down a lot?
We went down there a couple years ago for my son's birthday and I'm kind of scheming on figuring out how to get back down there. So my mom lives in LA, so it wouldn't be, it would be good to visit her and then go and take a nice little side trip.
It amazes me how there's a lot of vendors that are like huge, like Rachel Howerton, the photographer. Like,
yeah, I know. We've totally talked about that.
Like every other week. I'm like, you're insane. Like she's always there. Yeah, but she's always there.
Yeah.
It's good. Like my buddy Paul lives in LA, and he used to go with his ex a lot. But it made, like you said, when you can just bounce over for the day.
Totally.
But taking the trip down,
yeah,
it'd be fun.
Yeah, I'm always up for it.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on before I let you go? Anything else you wanted to share? I did want to ask you goals just moving forward. Like you said, maybe trying to develop more of long-term planning or coordination, whatever. But like, what are your kind of the goals to grow in the next couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do more full planning. I'd like to get into that realm. I'd like to bring on more assistants. I have one of my good friends who actually came down to Vegas MBA with me, Rachel. She's been assisting with me. So I'd like to get her more of a larger role and just kind of bring on some more people to help be able to take on more.
Is it exciting? Is it, that's what I was going to ask you too, like coming back from the MBA with like a lot of ideas and stuff, what has that been like? And is there anything that you've implemented right away or stuff that you're wanting to do? Obviously now that we're kind of getting out of the summer.
Right. Yeah, I've actually already started to put things in play, especially with this aisle planner thing that I went to. It's like, just hit the ground running. And so I've already sent out emails to my clients like, hey, this is what I have now. And just other things like getting discounts for my clients through like Generation Tux and Minted and just some online places just to help them out because weddings are expensive. And so anywhere that you can help them is good. So yeah, it's been awesome. I've just, everything's swirling in my head and I just have to sit down and do it.
I know that's the hardest thing. I'm like I still have like edits to do but then you have stuff that you're trying to, you want to implement. And then how's next year looking there? Are we getting excited for 2020 and how's it going for you so far?
Yeah, it's good. It's interesting because there's a couple of dates that I have clients booked that I've had like 2 or 3 extra inquiries for. And I just had to turn down someone for a New York wedding, which I was so bummed about because I'd love to get out of state and start doing some things like that. But yeah, it's good. It's starting to get busy and we haven't even fully hit engagement season yet. So
no, it's nuts. And just with some of the dates.
Yes.
And
2020.
We had our friend, I went to grade school with her and they changed her date now, but she was asking about, not even video, but just like, hey, do you have any suggestions for like photography and whatever? And I was like, oh, like, what do you think? And she's like, well, we're thinking fall, like, maybe 10/10, 2020. And I was like, Megan, like, you better you got to commit to that now and just know that it's, cause like we were already booked and I was like, you got to better figure it out and so they're like some random date now. And I was like, that's a much better. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. I've had, I think the date that I've really had a lot for is August 8th, 8/8/20. And I've had probably about 4 inquiries for that date. It's amazing.
I will tell you in even 3 years, 8/8/2020 will not be nearly as exciting as it is when you're planning it. So I would always recommend going a different day.
Yeah.
Like even, and like, I always like remember our anniversary. I'm like we were like August 6th. I'm like, what the heck? Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like it literally doesn't matter at all.
Yeah.
So
it's your date.
That would be my advice. Yes. Would be take the date and make it your own.
Exactly.
Well, this has been so great. Thank you for coming on today. And I hope you guys have a great Halloween tonight. It should be, it's going to be cold, but it should be sunny. I think it poured rain last year. So
yes.
If people want to learn more about you and your planning and everything else and check out your great site, it's very good. Where would you have them go?
My website is thebubblysoire.com, SOIREE. And then all of my Instagram and Facebook are the same, just at the Bubbly Soire.
And you have a great website chat feature, which I also have as well. So I enjoy that.
I just added that. I was like, oh, they talked about it last year at MBA and I didn't do it. And then they talked about it this year. I was like, all right, it's time. Just got to do it.
Oh, I know. I think it's, it's funny to me what people use it for. Because we don't get the time, but we'll get maybe your people will use a lot more. But I think it's a great of like, hey, do you have this data available? Yes or no? Versus like,
oh, totally.
Hey, so here is 18 questions. Can you answer them right now? And I'm like, this is not the realm for that.
Right. Yeah, that was kind of my intention, is that people could reach out and say, is my data available? And then they don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of everything else. But yeah, I just had someone reach out this morning. I was like, oh, look, it works. Like, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I was peeking on it. It's a different provider than I have, but it looks very good. So we'll see how it goes.
It popped up on my phone. It was thrilling.
Perfect. This has been another episode of Get to Know Your Wedding Pro. If you're like Shiloh and you are interested in coming on the podcast, you can go to www.bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest. And that's a great, easy questionnaire, direct link to fill out. And check back next week for another wedding vendor interview. Thanks so much.
Thank you.